These are some of the hottest names in Dynasty Fantasy Football, and Nathan and I are feeling like we might want to kill each other today.
Smoking hot.
So let's talk about Breece Hall first because...
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I want you dead.
Okay. Breece Hall. You know, Nathan, you know Breece Hall was the number 2 running back overall last year in fantasy football, right?
I do.
You do know that.
I do.
Okay,
know that.
so why is Breece Hall such a smashing sell to you at his like late second round price? Give it to me.
Well, you know, same reason as you, but because I know we agree, but
okay, no. I'll be honest with you. I see why people say he's not a sell.
Yeah,
I'm actually kind of indifferent on Breece Hall.
So Breece Hall last year in 17 games played, when you look at the running back 2 overall, right, you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's absolutely incredible, especially coming off the ACL. And I don't want to dog on Breece Hall and say like that it wasn't impressive. But this is something that we were like, this is why we advocated for Breece Hall as a buy. We expected him to come back and be better than some people suspected. And that ended up coming true. But when you look at his actual production, over 17 games played, he had 994 rushing yards for 4.5 yards per carry, and then 76 receptions. I mean, that's like elite
on 95 targets.
On 95 targets, 591 receiving yards, 9 total touchdowns. Good for 6th in the league in points per game, and a down running back year, 17.1 fantasy points per game. So argument number 1, if this were a normal running back year, that really would that would not have been running back 2. Like that would have been a low end running back 1, a mid to low end running back 1,
really?
17 points per game. Yeah.
Really?
Because you can compare to 2022 and 2023.
Okay, so who is somebody who was a
Austin Eckler?
All right,
he was running back 1 overall in 2022.
Well, I'm not Eckler. I'm thinking about people who are like mid to late running back 1s last year. Who were those guys?
Was ETN one?
ETN, yeah, we can find ETN. Anyways, keep going. I'll fact check you.
Yeah. So basically, that's just one point for me. Is for a running back 2 overall season, 17 points per game isn't like elite of elite. And I get again, he had a snap share limit at the beginning of the season while they're easing him back from the ACL. I get that he had an amazing stretch towards the end of the year. I am here to tell you that the Jets offense is not going to look the same as it did last year. Like, at least I hope not. Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing the ball. That offense is going to look significantly different because that offense was built for Aaron Rodgers. Last season, they couldn't get the ball to anyone because they didn't have a quarterback. It was Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson going back and forth. And the only thing they were capable of doing on the field was dumping it off to Breece Hall and throwing high percentage passing attempts that like literally they couldn't even complete, even though they were high percentage passing attempts. Garrett Wilson still produced it at a decent level for being in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. But to me, I think the offense is going to look different enough that I'm worried that his receiving usage might come down and that they might I still question that offensive line. I don't trust the offensive line. People say that, well, he's playing behind one of the worst offensive lines. Yes, I agree. If Breece Hall were on a different team, this would be a completely different discussion. My biggest argument against Breece Hall at his current price, which is some people believe Dynasty running back 1, taking him as early as the early 2nd in Dynasty startup drafts, you're willing to take on the risk of him being on the New York Jets? They are not fixing their O-line problems in a single offseason through the draft and through free agency. They're not. Everyone thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to solve all their problems and open up the field for Breece Hall to be, potentially the best running back in the NFL. Breece Hall is good enough where maybe it could happen, but are you really willing to bet on that for what is now a 3rd year? He's going into the 3rd year of his rookie deal as Dynasty running back 1, when you could pass up on him and go get Bijan Robinson, who's in a better situation, go get Jahmyr Gibbs, who's in a better situation. Like, I just think it's... Some of it is, a lot of it is because of the situation, but and because of that, why wouldn't I just pass on Breece Hall and go take one of the other top 3 Dynasty running backs instead at a cheaper price?
So true or false? The Jets' offensive line got better this offseason.
I mean, sure, true.
True, definitely true.
Okay,
right?
but that's my point. How much better? How much better?
I mean, they were pretty bad. So they got quite a bit better. They went from bad to maybe average. Okay. So you have Breece Hall playing behind a bad offensive line.
So they signed Morgan Moses.
Yes, and they signed Tyron Smith. And
So
they signed John Simpson.
Yeah, I like Tyron Smith more than I do Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses has a lot of question marks. He had an okay year last year, but his performances were kind of disguised by just how good Baltimore was.
But
Like I think the Morgan Moses signing was a bit overrated.
So Breece Hall in 2022 would have been the running back 5 with 290 overall points.
So a mid running back 1.
Okay, you said late running back
I said mid to late. I said late and then I said mid to late.
Okay, regardless, you're talking about Breece Hall who had like 500 yards in his last 3 games. Breece Hall Breece Hall's also only 22 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like if he's able to produce at that level and also get...
So let me ask you this. Do you really prefer Breece Hall over Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs at price?
Do I really think that I'm buying 2 of the other ones and selling the other, though?
Do you trust the Falcons more than the Jets?
Yes.
Do you trust the Lions more than the Jets?
From an offensive standpoint, yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
then my case has been
But
made.
last year, you trusted the Falcons as much as the Jets and the Lions more than the Jets, and Breece Hall still outproduced both of them. So why should we not think that...
Well, we trusted the Falcons situation as we should have, but we underestimated how ridiculous Arthur Smith was as a head coach.
Sure, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter how much we trust the teams because we trusted the Jets least of almost any team last year, and he scored 290 points last year. He had 95 targets. Like... Yeah. Yep. I mean, he stayed healthy.
So,
for
do you think he's going to get
season.
95 targets again with Aaron Rodgers?
You don't think it's possible? I mean, Aaron Jones was ridiculous with Rodgers, and Rodgers is only getting older. I mean, I think as you saw Rodgers in his later years in Green Bay, like he was using Aaron Jones more. I think Breece Hall absolutely fits that mold. I mean, there's not only that. There's not any target competition, or there's not any.
So Aaron Jones during his time with Rodgers had 18, 35, 68, 63, 65, and 72 targets. That's never sniffed 95 or 96.
That's still
20
good.
less targets.
But that's still really good.
Okay, but for what you would anticipate a 20 target dip in receiving production for Breece Hall, is that good enough for you to keep him as your dynasty running back 1, which a lot of people are arguing for
I'm not even arguing dynasty running back 1, but I would argue he's in the same tier as those guys, and maybe he's not as much of a hard sell as we thought he was. Because, again, like he's a guy in his last 3 games, 43 points, 27 points, 29 points. But over the course of an entire season, off of an ACL, 22 years old, getting a quarterback upgrade, getting an offensive line upgrade. If he did this last year, like why would he not be able to do this again? Like,
I mean, if you think that the offensive situation is going to be the same as last year, then
it's not.
By all means, please.
It's not. It's going to be better. It's kind of my point.
Will it be better for him, though, from a volume, efficiency, receiving perspective as well?
I feel like
don't
the better the passing
think
game
so.
gets.
Like if they really want to build their offense around Aaron Rodgers, and like a lot of this too is, do you trust their coaching staff to utilize to the best of their ability every single player in that offense? Because they've shown time and time again that they don't.
But again, Breece Hall did last year, so like
because he was the only player left on the field that could actually do
anything.
You
would think
like,
as
Wilson
they became more
produce.
of a dynamic team and actually opened up the passing game, you would think that helped Breece Hall, right?
I don't know. I think it would help Garrett Wilson before it helped Breece Hall.
I think it's possible. It helps both of them. Obviously, like the
if it helps both of them, then you're betting on the Jets
Both
being one of the better offenses in the NFL and being like a legitimate contender, in my opinion. And then at that point, then we're just kind of have differing opinions on what we think the Jets are going to do this year. Part of this is like my opinion of the Jets and what I think they're going to do in 2024, which is I think they're going to miss the playoffs. I think they're way too dysfunctional as an organization to be able to go as far as people think they could.
I guess my point with Breece Hall is like I definitely see where people could hold.
I understand it, and we recognize how good he did last year all the time, but the point still stands. I think there's enough question marks where I would rather bet on Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs instead.
All right, let's talk about George Pickens then. George Pickens is a guy that honestly I love. Like I love it when people get pissed about George Pickens. It's like one of my favorite pastimes.
Yeah,
but I'll play devil's advocate here.
I want to play devil's advocate here. Come on,
you want to play devil's advocate?
Yeah,
you want me to play the bad guy?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
It's my turn. It's my turn to make you be the bad guy.
But what do you actually think versus what I actually think?
Okay, well, what do I actually think? Deontay Johnson is gone, and there's no guarantee that the Pittsburgh Steelers draft a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds of this year's draft. So, and George Pickens is a wide receiver too last year, and his offense had over 1,000 receiving yards. Mm-hmm. So now you're going into a season where Russell Wilson has already been named as the eventual starter, he's going to be the day 1 starter, and he's, according to Tomlin, quote, the pole position quarterback, which basically means he's given the starting job day one, and Justin Fields is going to have to earn it. And guess what? Hot take: Justin Fields is not going to be a good enough passer of the football to really take Russell Wilson's job anytime soon. That being said, Russell Wilson provides a decent amount of passing volume. Like, he helped Cortland Sutton produce,
better than
Jerry Jeudy, much better than Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. So with the extra passing volume, with the uncertainty at the wide receiver position and them drafting or not drafting another wide receiver, Deontay Johnson gone, what really is missing with George Pickens? Why should he be a sell?
Okay. Let's do this. Let's play a fun game here while I fact check myself. How many times when George Pickens didn't score a touchdown, how many times did he go over 20 points in PPR leagues this year?
Over 20?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
When he didn't score a touchdown.
I want to say twice.
He did once, and it was 20.10. How many?
That's funny.
So you think of elite wide receivers. Give me a target range when you're talking about elite target hogs in PPR leagues that we look at. What target range do we typically look at?
For guys that
Like
about
high-end.
8 targets. High end 12. 8 to 12.
So total, though, we're talking like 130 to 160, like the
at
elite
least.
guys.
Yeah.
How many targets did George Pickens have last year in his wide receiver?
100.
106. 106.
Okay, yeah.
In George Pickens. In 63
I'm trying
receptions.
really hard to play.
I know. You can't even do it. We can't even debate about this.
I give up.
So, I mean, George Pickens, really good, too, for a team. What he did last year is exactly what they should use George Pickens like. But if you think George Pickens is an alpha, if you think George Pickens is going to be a wide receiver 1 next year, you've got another thing coming for you. Because George Pickens, when he's getting 106, you could say, well, the passing volume wasn't there. Well, Mitch Trubisky was bad. Well, Deontay Johnson's gone. Guys, I hate to tell you this. It brings me such despair to tell you that George Pickens is not drawing targets at 130 targets per year rate. No way he is not. He is not that type of player. He is absolutely not that type of player. And if you think he is, you did not watch him at Georgia, and you have not watched him in the first 2 years of his NFL career. He's not a target hog.
Yeah. And what's the counter argument to that? The counter argument is he could be the wide receiver 1 this year and no longer play the role of the wide receiver 2. Which, honestly, to me, the biggest argument to that counter argument is something that we've talked about time and time again. You can go watch the games and say George Pickens isn't a route runner. What do the numbers say? The numbers say that he was 84th last year among wide receivers in route win rate. 41.7%. Less than half of the routes he's winning, he's actually open. Okay. Now, he can make some really good contested catches, but that's 4 or 2.
All right, let's look at some more advanced George Pickens stats. 33rd in the league in target share, 21%. Not great, but not that good either. Wait, that's the same thing. Not great, but not that bad either. That's what I meant to say. Idiot. 17th in yards per run. Very efficient. 5th in yards per target. 1st in yards per reception. That pretty much tells you what you need to know about George Pickens and how he's going to be used this year.
Yep.
And again, like, George Pickens...
Doesn't mean I don't like watching his highlight plays.
Which... Yeah, I mean, does he have really good body control? And is he athletic? And is he super talented as a receiver? Yes. Do I have some kind of personal vendetta against George Pickens and I really just don't like him? Yes, that's true. So maybe I'm biased because of that. But at the same time, I'm not going to let my personal opinion of George Pickens come in the way of me thinking that George Pickens actually isn't going to be a target monster. If people are drafting George Pickens 6th, 7th round, you can get Stephon Diggs there. You can get Deebo Samuel there. You can get Jaden Reed there. Jaden Reed, I mean, we talk about Jaden Reed a lot, but Jaden Reed in his rookie year had 94 targets. In his rookie year. 10 more targets than George Pickens did, and this is fun. On less targets, Jaden Reed had 1 more reception this year than George Pickens did. And you can get him at the same price. At price, George Pickens is a bad investment. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Who's the next guy on this list?
Our next guy is William Levis.
This is fun.
Yeah, I'll let you play.
This is fun. No.
It's your turn.
Because you're the one that's like drafting Will Levis.
I drafted him once.
Well, okay, but you're advocating to draft Will Levis at a certain point in startup drafts.
Yeah, at a certain point if he's falling.
Why? What's the appeal to Will Levis?
Because by the time the draft is over, people are going to start realizing, which I don't know why they haven't already, that Will Levis is going to start day one for the Tennessee Titans. I don't really care what your opinion is of Will Levis as a talent. Both of us agree hands down that Will Levis is not the guy.
Okay.
Could we be totally wrong? Sure. Do I think I am? No. I think if you're looking at Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson, Will Levis is the odd man out in the AFC South, and the Titans will be going nowhere. Maybe Callahan can, pull some magic as a new head coach now for the Titans, potentially because of his history with Joe Burrow. That's a possibility. I think the general manager, the front office of the Titans, and the ownership of the Titans has demonstrated time and time again, both verbally and by the moves that they've made this offseason, that they are, for the short term, committing to Will Levis and actually think that there's something there. I don't think they are in a position to draft a quarterback that would have really any higher upside than Will Levis does, with less questions than Will Levis does in this draft. And I know that's your biggest argument. Will Levis is the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans going into 2024, with Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins as his top wide receivers and Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears in the backfield. When people realize that, his value is going to go up. So take him now, sell him later in the offseason, sell him during the training camp hype, which we know is coming. We'll come out with a video with the training camp hype like we always do around August. But when it happens, he's off my roster when he goes up to, 6th to 7th round startup value, because it'll happen. Until then, I'll take him at price, I'll hold him, and then I'll go ship him off. So that's really my biggest argument for him. I'm not giving you an opinion on what I think he is or isn't going to do from a production standpoint, because I just don't think it matters with this price. I definitely don't think he's a sell now, because you're getting a 9th round startup pick in return. Whatever, it's a quarterback in a super flex league.
But you're going to sell him before the season?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, then I'm actually cool with that. Let's talk about JSN. So JSN's a guy that last year was the wide receiver 48. He had 93 targets and 63 receptions. Sound familiar? With Jaden Reed,
right?
94 and 64. George
right.
Pickens had 63 receptions.
In the game-winning touchdown that they took away because of some stupid
that
call.
Was dumb.
Like, that was so dumb.
JSN's situation this year, did JSN's situation get better to you? Or does the JSN situation next year make him more likely to produce at a higher level to you?
I think with the aging of Tyler, with the assets staying the same, on paper, the situation did not get better.
True.
When you really look deeper into the situation, it's a new coaching staff, honestly a coaching staff that I trust to kind of utilize the skill sets of each of those players in that offense a little bit better, more efficiently than they have the last couple of years. And what was the other thing I had? Tyler Lockett. Oh, yeah, Tyler Lockett's coming back. Yeah, that sucks on paper, but again, Tyler Lockett this year is not the Tyler Lockett of 2 years ago. Neither was Tyler Lockett in 2023, the Tyler Lockett of 2022. Like, if Tyler Lockett had been who we thought that he was in 2022 compared to 2023, JSN wouldn't have produced at all. Like, at all. Tyler Lockett took a big step back from an efficiency perspective. He was not bringing in the targets that he usually does. And even though he stayed healthy for an entire season, which was better than I expected, I expect him to take another step back this year.
So really, where Tyler Lockett's production dipped was he had, in the previous 6 years, 10, 8, 10, 8, 9, that's 5 years, and then 5 touchdowns this last year. But he had more targets this last year, the second most targets he's ever had in his career. So he's still getting those targets.
Right, but what did he do with those targets? He brought in way less efficiency-wise, yardage-wise, reception-wise compared to 2022.
Reception-wise, the same. 73, 84, 79, 3-year sample. Yards-wise is where he went down. 1,100, 1,000 at 900. So he went down, 250 yards over a 2-year period. Yards per target went down another 3. Yards per reception, or yards per reception went down 5.
Yeah.
So he's definitely becoming more of, your old guy, middle of the field wide receiver.
Right.
But still 122 targets, and that's what worries me. When I think back to times where we have discounted older wide receivers at the expense of new wide receivers we wanted to produce, I think about Jonathan Mingo and Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, a guy last year we were like, Adam Thielen's going to produce, and people were like, Adam Thielen's not going to produce. Of course Adam Thielen produced. It's Adam Thielen. I'm trying to think of another one.
Keenan Allen.
Thank you. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnston. A lot of people were like, oh, Keenan Allen is going to get phased out because Quentin Johnston's coming in here and he's going to, this is the replacement. And then Quentin Johnston sucked, and Keenan Allen had a wide receiver 1 season.
The only difference is that JSN doesn't suck comparatively to Quentin Johnston. Like
that is a difference. That is I will give you that.
Yeah.
However, this does happen occasionally where we take receivers that are younger and that are good. Admittedly, JSN is a great receiver. Screwed by a landing spot of Seattle. Screwed. I hate the Seahawks. The Seahawks ruined that draft for me.
Yeah.
But
Charbonnet.
I know. But I'm not so comfortable betting against Tyler Lockett next year. Tyler Lockett's going to get $13 million guaranteed next year out of his contract.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Lockett's a guy that they paid to come in and continue to produce while Geno's still the quarterback. Obviously a new offensive system. But that being said, I feel like betting against Lockett at this point is just a bad idea, which makes me have to look. And you're right. JSN did produce, and that's why Lockett's production was down. Absolutely. But even then, JSN was still only the wide receiver 48. So JSN would have to like really produce, and Tyler Lockett's production would really have to go. I mean, they're definitely
he'd have to get more opportunities in the red zone.
It's definitely like a pendulum here. Like I really think that it's going to have to swing really hard one way or the other.
Lockett would almost have to be like the Lockett of old with Russ in his early days, where he's more of that deep threat, right? Where he's getting a lot of the big field, big ball, deep ball opportunities and stuff. And then JSN is, in the slot, he's getting more of that red zone usage. To me, that's just a transition that I'm kind of betting on at price. And again, it's all about the price. If JSN still had, 5th round startup value right now, then I think we'd be having a different conversation. But we're seeing him fall as far as the 7th now. And that's kind of a point where I'm like, okay, I'll take him there.
Okay. Talk about Travis Etienne then. Because
yep,
you're notoriously low on Travis Etienne.
I am notoriously low on Travis Etienne. I was last year, and then he had a pretty productive season, way more than I expected, especially from a volume perspective. Like I went into the year, I was like, Etienne had more carries as a running back one under a Doug Peterson offense than we've ever seen before. And then he did the same thing in 2023. It got even more carries. I was blown away. I didn't expect it because that's just not how Doug Peterson usually rolls. And then you see what he did the second half of the season when the Jags collapsed. So Etienne, weeks 1 through 8, 21, 6, 17, 10, 36, 23, 22, 25 points. I mean, you're talking about a top 4 dynasty running back there. Weeks 10 to 18, 6, 8, 12, 17, 17, 9, 6, 25, 13. A lot more hit and miss. Still an okay amount of volume, but his consistent carries went down. Now you're hearing the reports that Doug Peterson has already gone out there and openly said that Etienne's volume is going to go down. I think less is more with Travis Etienne. He is not known for his efficiency. One of the biggest knocks, one of the biggest smoke screens that I think people kind of bought with Travis Etienne going into 2023 was that he was an efficient running back. But when you really looked into the metrics, he was not a very efficient running back on a yards per carry perspective, even though at face value it was like 5.1 in 2022. It actually, like on a per carry basis, he was kind of hit or miss. This year, it reigned true. 3.78 yards per carry. He was below average. It was not very impressive. He had good receiving usage, but he's not a guy he's not a bell cow running back, guys. And he's going into the 4th year of his rookie deal. And the Jags situation is in major limbo right now. If they don't make the playoffs this year, there's going to be a ton of turnover in that offense. And I honestly, Lawrence is going to have a good year for them to be committed to him long term. He is. Like, everyone that in that offense is going to have to be. I think Etienne is one of the last guys that they're looking to pay. They don't even pay Josh Allen, and he's one of their better players.
True.
They franchise tagged him. I don't think they have it out to go pay Travis Etienne. I think they're trying to see what they can do effectively and offensively with Etienne getting less volume, and if they can kind of slowly phase him out of the offense. That's kind of my theory, and I'm expecting a underwhelming year, to say the least, for Etienne in 2024.
I honestly can't argue a ton with you there. I think the biggest argument there for Etienne is that his touchdowns over year went from 5 to 11.
Yeah.
His yards were almost the same. His yards went down.
So games he didn't score a touchdown: 6, 17, 10, 6, 8, 12, 9, 6, 13. Yeah, I can't. That's freaking touchdown.
I can't play devil's advocate on that. Yeah. That's too
It's like
compelling.
me trying to play devil's advocate with George Pickens. Give me credit for trying, okay?
You did try. You did try. So, All right, let's call it there. Make sure you drop a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe. We try to give you some good discussions around some Dynasty players that are hot topics right now. Do us a huge favor. Go to flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain and sign up for the Mother Flock tier, and you get a Team Blueprint. Team Blueprint is a comprehensive multi-year plan for your Dynasty team, followed by a one-on-one Dynasty team consulting from Nathan and I, as long as it takes you to win your championship. We are committed to helping you win money because money is cool. New shirt available down below. Nobody's gonna buy this shirt, but I do love it.
Are you kidding me? They might actually.
Really? You think so?
We should do like a giveaway or something
That's what we should do
for our Domain Mother Flockers.
All right. Appreciate you guys. See you later.